The Sax-Zim bog in Minnesota is a premier destination for people looking to see species that usually live farther north. Among these birds are some that are extremely coveted by both birders and photographers, such as great gray owls, northern hawk owls, and boreal owls. We took a 2-day trip to the bog, and on day 1 we found a lot of different boreal bird species, but none of the owls we were looking for. Extremely tired from the prior day's traveling, we started out day 2 feeling less than optimistic.
We slept in for quite a bit this morning just because we were so tired from yesterday. That was tough. And it's also going to be tough today because there's 2 places of looking, kind of that North Shore area, and then an hour away is the bog. And a boreal owl could be spotted at either. Our friend Sparky's checking out the North Shore this morning, so we're going to kind of hang around in hopes that that's found. People are already seeing great grays in the bog, but we figured if we went to the bog and there was a boreal, then we'd have to come all the way back. So we're going to try to start here, then work our way into the bog. Don't know if it'll pay off. Yesterday was kind of demoralizing, but hopefully we'll have some better luck today and we can at least see some type of owl species.
We decided to go to the North Shore, a part of the state just north of Duluth, and situated along Lake Superior. As we were driving the roads, we noticed 2 birders looking at something. It turned out to be one of our target birds. We were driving down some of the roads along the North Shore and we came across 2 guys that said there's a great gray sitting on a post over there. So we're going to go try to get that great gray and see if we can at least get our first owl species of the bog on the board.
It's a big breakthrough for us to at least hopefully get one owl species.
There, high up on a telephone pole, was a majestic great gray owl.
So right behind me is one of the signature species of this area, the great gray owl, and they are so majestic looking, and it's such a treat to watch them hunt, and they do not seem like they really care about anything else going on. Of course, you want to give them plenty of space, but they are pretty chill owls. This one's just been hunting, looking for stuff, kind of flying up and down the road. So what a treat to see, and it feels so good to finally get an owl here near the Duluth area.
Great gray owls are tall, distinctive-looking birds with a large, flat face and white bow tie marking just below their bill. Even though they are pretty easy to identify, they aren't always easy to spot, as their gray, brown, and white streaked patterning makes them incredibly well camouflaged against tree trunks and branches. These owls are year-round residents of parts of northern Asia, northeastern Europe, and the northern parts of North America, including some of the continental United States. In winter, they will move farther south and in greater numbers if their normal food sources are scarce. These food sources are small mammals such as voles and lemmings that great gray owls will usually hunt for during both the nighttime and the daytime, although they are oftentimes most active during dawn and dusk. To find a great gray owl, keep an eye out for them in northern conifer forests, especially along edge habitat, where these stealthy birds can use their supremely sharp hearing and keen eyesight to find prey out in the open. The great gray owl was actively flying from perch to perch, surveying for a potential meal. Since it was focused on hunting, it didn't pay much attention to us and got fairly close, giving us some really nice looks at this truly captivating bird.
Pretty sweet, isn't it?
Great gray owls are crazy. They're so large looking, but they're actually so puffy that they're very light still. And you can see the feathers on this one just blown in the breeze a little bit. There's a bunch of cars coming by it now. So we'll see if it'll stay, but great sighting, awesome creature. Eventually, the great gray owl moved on, and so did we, as we got some exciting news about another target species. Just got done looking at that great gray owl, which it's funny because a person with a dog actually came out of their house and the dog barking spooked it, but got some time with it, which was great. What a majestic bird. And then our friend Sparky just gave us the lowdown on a boreal owl that's at his friend's house, and he said if it's still there we can actually go see it, which would be a huge breakthrough because it seems like a lot of boreal owls are still in the area, but people are not really reporting them the same way that they were before, so they've been harder and harder and harder to find. So this would be huge. There's also a storm that's apparently coming, so the weather is about to get not so great, so we're going to try for this boreal owl and see if we can get it. After a 15-minute drive loaded with anticipation, we arrived at a private residence to a group of birders that were allowed to be on the property, one of which was our friend Sparky Stensos, who fortunately for us, let us know about this bird. Sparky, thank you so much. We would not have found it if not for you.
Well, I got a little inside info.
Well, that's what happens. You're the king of the bog, Sparky. Sitting in a tree right above the driveway was the prized bird of our trip, the Boreal owl.
We finally got our Boreal owl. It is so adorable. It is just chilling. It'll look up every once in a while, but that is such an awesome bird to find. I'm so glad we got to see one.
The Boreal owl is certainly among the cutest birds in all of North America. They are on the smaller side for owls and have a brown back with white spots and a lighter colored underside with brown streaking. Their faces are gray and bordered by black. Other features to note are their white speckling on their heads and black teardrop markings below their eyes. As their name would suggest, Boreal owls reside in boreal forests of Asia, Europe, Canada, and certain parts of the continental United States, such as the Rocky Mountains and northern conifer forests of the Midwest. Look for these well-camouflaged birds roosting in stands of trees, sometimes perching out in the open, especially if they are sunning themselves. Even if they are around, Boreal owls can be hard to find because they tend to switch roosting spots daily and aren't usually active when it's light out. During years when food is scarce in their normal range, more of these birds move into the lower 48 states, where birders and photographers eagerly flock to find them. Unfortunately for the owls, these situations when there isn't much food available are very tough, and sometimes lead to them having to hunt during the day. While this type of year is exciting for people wanting to see these birds, it's actually a dire time for the owls themselves.
Boreal owls often have little eruptions every 4 to 8 years, and it's been about 4 years since we've had even any kind of eruption. And when they come down, there's obviously a lack of voles further north, and they're hungry, and they're nocturnal hunters, so when we see them in the daytime, they're hungry, so we give them their space because they need to eat, and when they're hunting in the daytime, they are hungry. They're looking for voles, big fat juicy voles, meadow voles.
It's kind of like a bad sign if they're hunting during the day to a degree for them.
Yeah, eruptions in general are great for photographers and birders, but it's bittersweet because it's not really that great for the owls. They're hungry and trying to get by.
After watching the owl for a bit longer, we headed out, feeling much different than we did the day prior. The feeling in the air and the energy today just feels way different with seeing those owls this morning. Yesterday we were really dragging. We were like, oh, I don't know if we should even do this again tomorrow. And today it's just totally different. It's just anywhere you look, you feel like you have a chance to see something now. So it's really unique to experience the difference between yesterday when it seems like the birds just were not out and not active versus today when it seems like they are. So there's still a lot of day left, and we'll see if that trend continues, but I'm really hoping that it does.
100%. This is like night and day between yesterday and today, and we worked way harder yesterday than we have today.
Today it's been like we show up, there it is.
It's perfect. It's been beautiful.
Or someone else is like, there it is. Having found 2 of our 3 target birds faster than we anticipated, we had time to drive about an hour and a half away to search for a northern hawk owl that was known to be wintering in the area. On the way, we found a few more interesting species.
We're on our way cruising to the hawk owl spot. Road's a little icy and it's dirt, so it's not the best, but we had some pheasants and then we had a nice northern shrike perched up hunting. So those are always a treat to see. Let's see if we can get this hawk owl.
Northern shrike are one of the most unique songbirds in all of North America because they actually do prey on small animals, including other birds. They don't really have talons, but they do have a very sharp hooked beak that they can use to catch prey with. So they're a fierce predator even though they look like they would be just a regular songbird. Always a treat to see a northern shrike. They only come down to most of the United States, at least the continental United States, in the wintertime. After getting some looks at the shrike, we moved on, and at the end of the road was owl species number 3.
We got him. It was literally at the exact T intersection. We saw 2 photographers with big lenses pointed at it. So that's our hawk owl, 3rd owl of the day.
Northern hawk owls are medium-sized owls with relatively long tails. They have a brown back and wings, a messy white bib, brown barred underside, and a gray face. Their face is actually outlined with black, and their forehead is dark brown with white speckling, giving them a helmeted appearance. Northern hawk owls are birds of the most northern parts of the world, residing year-round in northern Asia, northern Europe, Alaska, Canada, and the most northern parts of the continental United States. These birds do sometimes end up a bit farther south than usual in the wintertime as they search for fruitful hunting grounds. Their typical prey of choice are small mammals, but they have been known to eat birds as well. When hunting, they like to survey the area from a high perch, making them easy to spot if one is in the vicinity. Northern hawk owls actively hunt during the daytime and rely on sight more than sound. It feels so special to be able to see this northern hawk owl here. It's one of my favorite bird species of all time. One of the birds that we were really excited to see when we started birding, and it's just always a treat to see them. They're so charismatic. They'll be active during the day, turning their head around, looking everywhere. What an awesome creature.
Man, I cannot get over how cool this northern hawk owl is. And you end up in these scenarios where the owl is still chilling, but you're like, I think we should move on to the next thing. But there's a northern hawk owl right there, and it's really hard to pull yourself away. So we're going to spend a couple more minutes with this bird and then move on to our next thing.
Wanting to keep our owl luck going, we made our way to a point where a snowy owl had been hanging out for most of the day. On our way there, we had a surprise encounter with a bird we weren't expecting to see.
So we actually just had our fourth owl species, a barred owl, and it was an odd situation because there was a muskrat walking on the side of the road, so we were checking to make sure it was okay, and then this barred owl actually came and tried to grab it. And so we watched the barred owl for a bit, and the muskrat kind of went down into this more marshy area, so it may get away, but it was a interesting kind of like National Geographic moment. Felt kind of bad for the muskrat. Don't know how that one's going to end up, but that was our fourth owl species of the day.
After watching the barred owl for a few minutes, we continued on to search for the snowy owl, which we quickly picked up in a tree extremely far out in a field.
This is honestly probably one of the worst snowy owl views we've ever had. It's got tons of dark barring on it. Still really cool to see. It is weird that it's up in that tree though, but I'm glad we were able to get one here around the bog area.
With the sun starting to set, we didn't have any more notable sightings, but we did feel incredible, reflecting on how different this day was than the one before. This has been an absolutely wild day. I mean, pretty much scripted exactly how I would want it to go in terms of what we've seen. So it really just goes to show that 2 days, 2 drastically different results. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, but at the end of the day, I'm really glad that we've had this day that we've had. And if you want to see the day that wasn't as good, check out the other video.
Yeah, it's been a great day. We heard a report that somebody found 3 boreal owls on the North Shore. So it's interesting what information ends up getting to the public and what doesn't, because like if we didn't meet the person who told us that, we would have no idea. So it's interesting that multiple people can come up and have completely different experiences in the same spots.
It really is incredible how different 2 back-to-back days can be. The difference can have to do with weather, timing, or just plain luck. Either way, we were extremely fortunate to be able to find all of our target birds and get a truly great experience birding in snowy Minnesota. If you enjoyed this video, take a look at one of our other videos about birding in the Sax-Zim bog. And if you want to see some of Sparky's videos, check out the link in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.